Sammy Davis has a gorgeous home. I went out and visited him. The landscaping, the shrubbery and the trees. See, I come from Philadelphia, and I lived in row houses. We never saw that, shrubbery and trees. So if ever, the good Lord willing, I ever become a star, and I move.
For many fans of classic television and comedy, the name Joey Bishop still brings back memories of a unique voice in entertainment. Known for his sharp humor, calm delivery, and unforgettable presence, Bishop was one of the most interesting personalities of his time. As a member of the famous The Rat Pack, he worked alongside legendary performers like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. While the group was filled with big personalities, Joey Bishop often stood out in a quieter but clever way. His comedy was built on timing and intelligence rather than loud performances. In his later years, one of his final interviews caught the attention of many people because it seemed to confirm what fans had suspected for a long time about his life, his friendships, and his true feelings about the entertainment industry. As he reflected on his career, Bishop spoke openly about the experiences that shaped him and the lessons he learned during decades in show business. His words offered a rare and honest look into a world that often appeared glamorous from the outside but could be complicated behind the scenes. Many listeners felt that this interview revealed the real Joey Bishop, not just a performer seen on television screens. It showed a thoughtful man who had spent years observing the people and events around him. During that conversation, Bishop spoke about the early days of his career and how difficult it was to find success in comedy. Long before he became widely recognized, he spent years performing in small clubs and trying to develop a style that was truly his own. Comedy was a competitive field, and many talented performers struggled to gain attention. Bishop explained that persistence was one of the most important qualities a comedian could have. There were nights when the audience did not respond well, and moments when he questioned whether he would ever reach a larger stage. But he kept working, learning how to read an audience and adjust his timing. Over time, he built a reputation for a calm, intelligent style of humor that was different from many other comedians of the era. Instead of relying on loud jokes or exaggerated expressions, Bishop focused on clever observations and subtle delivery. This approach eventually helped him stand out in the crowded entertainment world. His success grew steadily, leading to television appearances and larger opportunities. Looking back during the interview, he seemed both proud and surprised by how far his journey had taken him. One of the most fascinating parts of the interview came when Bishop talked about his relationship with the other members of the Rat Pack. The group was famous for performances in Las Vegas and its strong personalities. From the outside, many people imagined the Rat Pack as a group of friends constantly celebrating together. While there was certainly friendship and loyalty among them, Bishop suggested that the reality was sometimes more complex. Each member of the group had a unique personality and a different way of approaching fame and success. Bishop often described himself as the observer of the group. While others took center stage with powerful singing voices or dramatic acting roles, he watched carefully and understood the dynamics between everyone involved. His calm personality allowed him to maintain balance in situations where strong egos could easily create tension. In his final interview, he hinted that fans had long suspected this quiet leadership role. Even though he was sometimes seen as the least flashy member of the group, he often played an important part in keeping things running smoothly behind the scenes. As Bishop continued reflecting on his life, he also spoke about the changing world of entertainment. When he first entered show business, success depended heavily on live performances and television appearances. Over the years, the industry changed dramatically, introducing new technologies and new styles of comedy. Bishop admitted that adapting to these changes was not always easy. However, he respected the younger performers who brought fresh ideas to the stage. At the same time, he believed that some timeless qualities should never be lost. In his view, good comedy always depends on strong writing, smart timing, and a genuine connection with the audience. Those principles remained true no matter how the industry evolved. His reflections showed a deep understanding of the craft he had practiced for so many years. Rather than criticizing modern entertainment, he spoke about it with curiosity and interest. It was clear that he still loved the art of making people laugh, even if the stage looked different than it did during his early career. Another powerful moment in the interview came when Bishop talked about fame itself. Many people imagine fame as something purely positive, filled with admiration and opportunity. But Bishop explained that it can also bring challenges. Public attention often creates expectations that are difficult to manage. A performer may feel pressure to maintain a certain image even when it does not fully reflect who they really are. Bishop suggested that he tried to avoid becoming trapped by those expectations. He preferred to focus on doing his work well and letting the audience decide how they felt about it. This honest attitude helped him maintain a sense of balance throughout his career. Instead of chasing constant attention, he seemed more interested in understanding the people around him and learning from his experiences. The final part of the interview felt almost like a quiet summary of his life. Bishop spoke calmly about the friendships he had formed, the successes he enjoyed, and the challenges he faced along the way. There was no sense of regret in his voice, only reflection. Many fans believe that his word confirmed something they had always suspected. Joey Bishop was one of the most thoughtful and observant figures in classic entertainment. While he might not have sought the spotlight as aggressively as some of his famous friends, his influence was still deeply felt. He helped shape an era of comedy that continues to inspire performers today. Listening to his final reflections, it becomes clear that Joey Bishop's legacy is about more than just laughter. It is about intelligence, patience, and the ability to see humor in everyday life. His calm style of storytelling and comedy showed that sometimes the quietest voice in the room can also be the most insightful. Even years after his passing, his work remains part of television and comedy history. Fans who revisit his performances often discover new layers of wit and observation that make his humor feel timeless. In the end, his final interview served as a reminder that behind every famous entertainer is a personal journey filled with lessons, friendships, and moments of reflection. Through those honest words, the world was able to see the real Joey Bishop one last time. Joey Bishop spent most of his life in the spotlight, known for his sharp wit, calm presence, and clever humor that made him stand out in the golden age of American entertainment. As a proud member of the legendary Rat Pack alongside icons like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr., Bishop built a reputation as a quiet observer of the group. While others thrived on loud charisma and dramatic headlines, Bishop often stood slightly in the background, watching, listening, and delivering perfectly timed remarks that could bring an entire room to laughter. In what would become one of his most talked-about late-life conversations, Joey Bishop reflected on his decades in show business with an honesty that surprised many people who had followed his career. For years, fans believed there were deeper stories behind the polished image of the Rat Pack and the glamorous world of 1960s Las Vegas. Bishop's words seemed to confirm that suspicion. He described the pressures, the private struggles, and the complicated friendships that existed behind the bright lights of fame. According to Bishop, the Rat Pack was more than just a group of entertainers. It was a brotherhood built on loyalty, humor, and sometimes fierce competition. He spoke about the nights in Las Vegas Strip when crowds filled the casinos and theaters, expecting unforgettable performances. Behind the scenes, however, the performers were dealing with long hours, personal sacrifices, and the constant demand to stay funny, charming, and flawless in front of the public. Bishop explained that while audiences saw effortless chemistry on stage, much of that magic came from years of friendship and trust among the performers. They pushed each other creatively, challenged each other, and sometimes disagreed strongly, but they always understood that the show had to go on. His reflections offered a rare glimpse into a world that many people only knew through movies, television appearances, and old photographs. Listening to Bishop talk about those years felt like opening a time capsule from one of the most fascinating periods in entertainment history today. As the interview continued, Bishop became even more reflective, speaking about the personal relationships that shaped his life and career. He described how fame could change the way people treated you, sometimes making it difficult to know who your real friends were. Despite the glamour surrounding the Rat Pack, Bishop admitted that their lives were not always as easy as they appeared on stage. The constant travel, late-night performances, and pressure to remain relevant in a fast-changing industry created tension that the public rarely saw. Still, Bishop emphasized that the friendships he built with people like Sinatra and Martin were genuine, even when disagreements occurred. He recalled long nights after performances when the group would gather privately, sharing stories, laughing about mistakes on stage, and talking about their hopes for the future. Those quiet moments, he said, were just as important as the performances themselves because they reminded them why they loved entertaining people in the first place. Bishop also reflected on how the entertainment industry evolved over the decades, especially as television became more dominant, and new comedians began to change the style of comedy. Shows like The Joey Bishop Show gave him a new platform to reach audiences, but they also came with new challenges and expectations. In his final reflections, Bishop seemed less concerned with fame and more interested in the legacy he and his friends left behind. He hoped that people would remember the Rat Pack not just for their jokes and performances, but for the spirit of camaraderie that defined their work. For fans listening to that final interview, his words carried a sense of closure, as if one of the last witnesses to a legendary era was finally sharing the deeper truth behind the laughter. As the conversation continued, Joey Bishop spoke more openly about the reality behind the friendships that defined the Rat Pack era. Many fans had long believed that the bond between the members was unbreakable, a perfect brotherhood built on laughter and loyalty. But according to Joey Bishop, the truth was more complex. While there was genuine friendship between the men, there were also moments of rivalry, frustration, and strong personalities that sometimes clashed behind the scenes. Living and working closely with powerful figures like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin meant navigating an environment where egos could easily collide. Bishop explained that Sinatra, who was often seen as a leader of the group, had an intense drive for perfection. He demanded loyalty from people around him and expected everyone in the group to support one another, especially during performances in places like the famous Las Vegas Strip, where their shows became legendary. Bishop admitted that being part of such a powerful circle could sometimes feel overwhelming, especially when public expectations were so high. Fans saw the Rat Pack as a symbol of effortless cool, but maintaining that image required constant effort and discipline. Bishop often played the role of the quiet observer, someone who watched everything happening around him and delivered clever jokes at just the right moment. This position gave him a unique perspective on the group's dynamic. He saw how the public image of unity sometimes hid private disagreements, yet he also witnessed the deep respect that the members had for one another's talent. According to Bishop, that respect was a real reason the group worked so well together for so many years. Each performer brought something different to the stage. Sinatra's commanding voice, Martin's relaxed charm, and the incredible versatility of Sammy Davis Jr. Bishop believed that the combination of those talents created a chemistry that could never truly be repeated. His reflections helped paint a fuller picture of an era that many people only knew through glamorous stories and nostalgic memories. Bishop also took time to talk about how the entertainment world slowly began to change around them. During the 1950s and 1960s, performers could dominate the stage in nightclubs and casinos, building a direct relationship with live audiences. But as television and new forms of media became more influential, the style of entertainment began shifting. Bishop experienced this transition firsthand when he moved into television with projects like The Joey Bishop Show and later his late-night program, The Joey Bishop Show. These opportunities allowed him to connect with millions of viewers at home, but they also placed him in a very different environment from the lively stages of Las Vegas. In the interview, Bishop explained that television demanded a different kind of timing and discipline. Every joke had to fit within strict schedules, and every moment was carefully planned. Despite those limitations, he appreciated the chance to evolve as performer and prove that his talent extended beyond stand-up comedy. Yet he admitted that he sometimes missed the unpredictability of live performances, where a spontaneous moment could turn into the biggest laugh of the night. Looking back on his long career, Bishop seemed both proud and thoughtful about everything he had experienced. He spoke about the importance of adapting to change while staying true to one's personality and sense of humor. His reflections carried a tone of wisdom, as he understood that the golden era of entertainers like the Rat Pack had passed into history. Still, he believed their influence continued to shape modern entertainment. The stories he shared in that final interview reminded listeners that behind the laughter and fame were real people navigating an unpredictable industry. For those who grew up watching the Rat Pack perform, Bishop's words offered something rare, a personal look at the truth behind the legends and the friendships that defined one of the most unforgettable chapters in entertainment history. Today, as the interview moved forward, Joey Bishop began reflecting on what life was like after the bright lights of fame slowly faded. For many entertainers of his generation, the spotlight had once been constant. The theaters were full, the television appearances were frequent, and the excitement of performing never seemed to end. But time changes everything, and Bishop spoke honestly about how the entertainment industry gradually moved on to new stars and new styles. Unlike some performers who struggled with that transition, Bishop seemed to accept it with a calm and thoughtful attitude. He explained that every career has its seasons, and no one can remain at the top forever. What truly matters, he said, is the legacy a performer leaves behind and the memories they create for their audience. Looking back at his long journey, Bishop felt grateful for the opportunities he had experienced. From small comedy clubs to the biggest stages in America, he had seen the industry evolve in ways that few people could imagine. During those years, he worked alongside some of the most talented entertainers in history, including Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and Sammy Davis Jr. Their performances together helped create the legendary reputation of the Rat Pack, a group that defined an entire era of American entertainment. Bishop explained that while the public often saw only the glamour and excitement, there were also many long nights, hard work, and pressure behind every performance. Success did not happen by accident. It required dedication and constant improvement. In his final reflections, Bishop emphasized that humor had always been his way of connecting with people. Even in difficult moments, laughter had the power to bring comfort and perspective. That belief remained with him throughout his life, shaping the way he approached both a career and his personal experiences. Toward the end of the conversation, Bishop's tone became even more reflective, almost philosophical. He spoke about friendship, loyalty, and the passage of time in a way that felt deeply personal. Many fans had long wondered what truly held the Rat Pack together, and Bishop's words seemed to confirm what many people had suspected all along. Beneath the jokes and playful teasing was a strong bond built on shared experiences and mutual respect. The group had traveled together, performed together, and faced the pressures of fame together. Those experiences created connections that were difficult for outsiders to fully understand. Bishop described how moments backstage were often just as meaningful as the performances themselves. Before stepping onto the stage, the group would talk, laugh, and sometimes argue about the smallest details of the show. Yet once the curtain rose, everything came together perfectly, creating the effortless chemistry that audiences loved. Bishop believed that authenticity was the secret behind their success. The audience could sense when performers truly enjoyed being together, and that energy made every show feel special. As the interview came to a close, Bishop expressed gratitude for the life he had lived and the people who had been part of it. He did not speak with regret or bitterness, but rather with appreciation for the journey. His final thoughts reminded listeners that fame may fade, but the impact of great performances and genuine friendships can last for generations. Through his stories and reflections, Joey Bishop offered a rare glimpse into a remarkable chapter of entertainment history, confirming that the legend people admired on stage were also complex, thoughtful individuals behind the scenes. As the interview continued, Joey Bishop also reflected on the personal lessons he learned during his long journey in entertainment. Fame, he explained, often looks simple from the outside, but the reality behind it can be very different. When audiences watched the Rat Pack perform, they saw confidence, style, and effortless humor. What they did not see were the years of practice, the stress of constant travel, and Sinatra had an incredible presence and natural leadership, but he also expected the people around him to match his energy and commitment. Bishop respected that dedication, even though it sometimes created tense moments behind the scenes. At the same time, Bishop admired the relaxed style